All right, welcome, sweet lifers. I am so excited to talk to you today. We are going to be talking about addiction replacement. There have been quite a few messages in the Sweet Life community and as well as my Instagram of people experiencing the phenomenon of addiction replacement. So, when we get off sugar, when we start cutting back, we start to want to replace that dopamine response, that reward that our brain is craving with other things. What I have seen mostly with sugar addiction is people start to try to replace that feeling that they'd get with food addiction to sugar with other carbs like bread and pasta, and they start to feel out of control towards their bread and pasta and feel really that they're just struggling with the ability to cope with this new addiction. So I knew going into the time when I was giving up sugar that this would be a problem because I'd read about it, and then also in times past when I had tried to regulate, I just start turning outwards to other addictions. And I'm not going to say I'm perfect at this. I'm actually going to share some of the stories that I've been going through on this journey and still go through. Um, the important thing for me when I started was I really wanted to stop my actual food addiction. So instead of turning to the bread and the pasta, I didn't realize that that would be something that was very common, but I wanted to replace that reward system with something wholesome. And I have a nice place to walk around where I live, and getting out with my children is really a rewarding thing. So I put in some things that I was going to do. Walking, karaoke. I loved karaoke. It brings me so much happiness. And driving through the mountains was one as well. Um and and reading a book. And this is a weird quirk of mine. I'm really hard pressed to finish a book, but I love starting books, and that brings me dopamine. So I've started a lot of books in the last few months and haven't finished them. But it is one of the ways that I have been able to regulate. And putting these things in place at the beginning, I feel made it really possible for me not to turn to bread and pasta. And I've been able to still continue to regulate my bread and pasta intake and not have to take those out. So I wanted to talk about what behaviors are we looking for when we start to replace our addiction with something that isn't great. Continuously thinking about the new behavior or activity. Losing sleep due to the compulsive behavior. Problems at work, school, or home. Disregarding self care or personal hygiene. Relationship problems with friends or family members. Feeling stressed or anxious if unable to participate in the new habit. So just think about your life right now. Has if you're someone who has this bread or pasta problem, has this shown up again? Has have these things been there? I'll tell you my replacement addiction. It wasn't at the beginning, it has been more recent, and that is screen time. And it's really frustrating me because I'm trying to do this online, be this online presence, be a support to you, be a support to others, try to inform others, but that requires screen time. And so it's been difficult for me to regulate all those things that I just read off due to my replacement addiction. It was something that I knew going into this might be a problem for me because of my maybe some of the addictive traits that I have that were really centered around sugar. And now that sugar isn't here, one thing about doing this influencer thing, I get a lot of dopamine from people complimenting me. And so that dopamine, that reward is totally present. So I'm still figuring out as well. Um, so on Present Moments Recovery, it's an addiction recovery site. They talk about replacement addictions. When you begin to replace that I someone said that you deal with the addiction that's going to kill you first, and then you work your way down. So sugar was what was going to kill me first over any kind of screen time or anything else I was dealing with. And so now that that's dealt with, I have my the next on the list. And it's important, I feel this conviction inside me to do the hard work to make your addictions go away completely. Because like I've mentioned in the Sweetest Life videos, I did one on agency. Addiction takes away our agency. Addiction takes away our ability to choose right and wrong. And so, like I read off in that list, your my addiction has really interfered with my sleep to screens. So I have been spending a lot more time at night when I'm trying to work on the sweet life and I'm trying to work on the website. I get distracted because I start to feel a pull to it that is uncomfortable. Like I start to get to a spot in my website design or my logo design that is just kind of frustrating me, and so I feel like I want a reward quickly so that I can get back to feeling like I can work. That's the same thing that would happen with sugar. When with my kids, I would really get to a point where I was just frustrated with the kids and, like, I'm like, "I don't know what to do as a mom in this moment because 'cause I'm just so frustrated and touched out that I just have to have a cookie and feel good, and then we can move on with the day." But we know that doesn't work. We know that doesn't work from the from that graph in the guide, if you remember. Um, we get to a point where we just get that high, but it's only that much of a high, and then it just comes crashing down, and it doesn't last very long. And it's the same thing with, the addiction that I'm dealing with now. So, I want to walk you through some of my ideas. Sorry, gotta rearrange my legs. I need to get a chair is what I really need. When I'm, sitting here, my, like, hips get tired. Anyway, going on. I wanted to walk you through some of the steps that I'm going to take to be able to get off my to manage my screen time addiction so that I will not replace it. And I haven't wanted to deal with this as much because it's a lot harder. With sugar, I can cut it out completely and I don't have the cravings for it. It is going to be different with screens because we use them to call people. I do know some people that have gone to dumb phones, and I think that's a good idea. I like the idea of trying, but I don't know if I can do that yet, with where I want the business to go. So, um, some of the things I have thought of, like the Sweet Life Club, is having accountability partners. What worked really well for me was my husband when I was giving up sugar. And so I have basically written out a little script that I'm going to go over with my husband so that he can know what screen time parameters I'm having. And I actually have some collaboration that I need from him to know when is the best time for me to be doing this and when are the times that are totally no-goes. Some of the things are never having the phone at the table when we eat, and never having the phone out when we are having a one-on-one conversation. That tends to be pretty common after the kids go to bed, that I'm just responding to DMs and he is trying to debrief from the day, and I do feel like that disconnection isn't there anymore. So, as this relates to sugar addiction, and if you're still struggling with sugar addiction, having that accountability is really important. I had some ideas that if you're still struggling with the sugar addiction and you have the Sweet Life Club, you can say, I'm going to be accountable by telling the Sweet Life Club updating. You could make one post and say, this is my update post. And I will say how I did with sugar every day in the comments of this post. Please come back to um please come back to encourage me. I think that would be a really great post to have. Also coming to the weekly saying I'm going to come to the weekly calls and report my success this week. And then having some accountability parameters are going to really help. That really helped me with the sugar addiction. Now, the next part is identity shift. So I want to be somebody who always wants to be present. And that is one thing with screen time and sugar addiction. It's a way to disassociate. And I'm still working through that in my mind. Someone who wants to be present in the moment, that allows a moment to be the thing that adds value to my life. That is something about sugar that we maybe don't think about as much as a culture. But when we go out with friends, we go out and often say, let's go get a treat. And so we feel like it's adding to the experience. When I think back on times that I have been with my friends, it isn't, I mean, maybe there's like one or two instances that like the dessert was the main thing because company wasn't great or something, I'm not sure. But, most of the time you're remembering the time you're with that person, not the treat. So, what I want with the screen time and with you and your sugar addiction journey is to make the moment the treat. So, when I'm with my kids, that is the treat. Even though it can feel like it is hard to be present with my children. I we just need to be able to switch that in our brains that it is the reward that I'm with my kids. Um it's not the given that I'm with my kids, and really seeing each moment for what it is and having the gratitude and humbleness to be able to see it for that. So those are some of the things that I'm going to be implementing to create a different identity when it comes to where my focus is in time, and uh, rewiring my brain to accept that that is the reward. And more than anything, if you feel like this is something you need professional help with, seek it out. Have the humility to seek out the professional help with retraining your brain. Right now, I am feeling like this is something that I have all the information, I have the accountability. I want to implement this change in me, this rewiring. It will just take practice. And I want to be accountable to you to show you that I can be here for you. I can provide this value for you in the Sweet Life Club, and I and keep the priority of my family and my personal life above the dopamine that I'm trying to get from social media or screen time. So I just wanted you to be aware that replacement addiction is a thing, and to be conscious about what's going on in your life and how you are going to rid yourself of addiction altogether, and to be conscious of that. If you have any questions or want some more ideas of how to stay accountable in this area, please DM me. I'd love to hear from you. And yeah, thank you so much for being in the Sweet Life Club. I am so excited to reveal the logo very soon, and it's going to be much funner than the ones that I had designed. Thankfully, I had some help from some friends that really can see what brand I'm bringing better than I can. So, anyway, thank you so much. Have a great week, and I will see you next Wednesday. And until then, yeah, DM me. Find your sweetness. Find what makes your life sweet outside of the things that are addicting, and be able to recognize that and journal about it, because having that deep reflection is really going to help. Have a great day. Bye.